We are now in the middle of what seems to be a modestly successful appropriations process. Let's not go crazy here because it's January. We're
It also isn't over, right? It's not over till it's over.
No, it ain't over till it's over.
Good morning, I'm Anna Palmer.
And I'm Jake Sherman.
And welcome to the Daily Punch, brought to you by Punchbowl News. It's Wednesday, January 14th, 2026. Let's get into the mix. Here are your Washington headlines of the day. Number one, are appropriators getting their mojo back? Number two, Schumer's victory lap. And number three, banks versus crypto, the latest on stablecoin yield restrictions from our Vault premium policy coverage. All right, Jake, let's get into it. We are talking about government funding. And, there's been a lot of talk on this podcast about how Congress has
sucks.
Okay. It's only Wednesday. Let's take it down a notch. But about how Congress has receded and left its power, to the administration, or not just this administration, but over years. And what we are seeing right now is appropriators beleaguered. They've been bruised, kind of in the shutdown and so many other things, but they are getting some of their power back. And it is something to watch because it potentially portends the idea that Congress could take back some control.
I'm surprised you didn't want to start the podcast talking about my sweatshirt, which is the George Washington University Revolutionaries, which plays tonight at home against Davidson in 8-10 conference play. So let's go Rebs. Big
surprise. I can't believe what an oversight. Thank you so much for that feedback.
3-1 in the conference. We get it. We need to win tonight. We need to win every game. So let's talk about that first, and let's put a pin in that. Let's
Thank
go.
You.
Go G-Dub. Okay. Anna, you got to give him credit because Mike Johnson has been saying for years, it's time to get back to regular order, which, by the way, copy and paste, every speaker says, and very few speakers do. We usually get a flood of CRs, which is not a way to govern. Now, we are now in the middle of what seems to be a modestly successful appropriations process. Let's not go crazy here because it's January.
It also isn't over, right? It's not over till it's over.
No, it ain't over till it's over. But House has passed 6 bipartisan 2026 funding bills and expected to pass 2 more today. National Security State, which used to be called, as we call it in the gallery, the artist formerly known as SFOP, State Foreign Ops. They changed the name for reasons not clear to me, but I'm happy to call it whatever they want to call it, I guess. And FSGG, Foreign Services General Government, which, by the way, that could use a new name too. House will take up its
spitballing here.
Yeah,
new name.
Dude, I liked SFOPs. It had a nice little kind of. It had a nice cadence to it.
Feels like a boom bop, like a ditty or something. Right
exactly. Next week, the House will take up its final spending package, which is its hardest labor HHS, which is always hard, defense, which is always hard, THUD, less hard, and Homeland Security.
Which will be very hard.
Now, I've been of the view that they'll have to CR Homeland because that's kind of just logic to me, given everything that's going on with ICE around the country, the killing of a woman in Minnesota, protests nationwide. Why would Democrats do a DHS spending bill? The sources that myself, Brez, and Sammy talk to, that's Samantha Handler, say that they are bullish about a Homeland bill. We'll have to see. Next week is going to be real tricky with that spending bill. These things are passing, the last bill passed with like 300 and something votes, 300 and, it was a big vote. So that passed 397 to 28 in the House. So, these bills, these are bipartisan bills and they deserve credit because, appropriators in the leadership are trying to get appropriations back together.
I mean, it's interesting, right? Because when you look at those numbers and then the mess of the House floor yesterday and the fact that they had to pull bills, they lost a vote. I mean, it's such a stark, contrast when it comes to and just showing the challenges that House Republican leadership is having with
And I
such
want to talk
razor
about
thin
that for a
margins. I
second.
mean, let's
Yeah.
talk about it. But I mean, I do think it's worth it because you see this train moving forward on bills that typically, to your point, we've shuttled from CR to CR, and haven't really had this kind of process going forward. But what a mess the House floor was yesterday.
Yeah, they lost a floor vote on a labor bill. Moderates kind of bolted Northeastern. Let's not even call them moderates, but Northeasterners who are pro-labor Republicans bolted. Who could have saw that? The pro-labor Republicans wouldn't want to vote for a bill that I think basically did not allow outside training to be counted for your hours worked. Someday, as we write this morning, House Republican leaders will put their heads together. That's Mike Johnson, Tom Emmer, and Steve Scalise, and figure out how to avoid that, how to avoid losing votes, and figure out what will pass. But that is not today. And you know what's interesting? I've been thinking about this. It's only January, but in about a year, there will be leadership races. And I think one of the things, if someone challenges one of the leaders, whether it's within the leadership or outside the leadership, one of the things that will be talked about is like, why are we getting in situations where we're putting bills on the floor that can't pass? And I understand the margins. I get the margins are tight, but there's some either miscommunication or bad strategy in this House Republican leadership. And, I think that's fair to say.
One other just quick note, important we are talking about the House getting through all of its appropriations bill. Then all the pressure goes to the Senate. Jake, the Senate is out next week. There's a lot of Codel's members going abroad, but they're going to come back that last week of January, and the pressure is going to be intense to pass 2 more funding packages before that January 30th funding deadline. Worth just noting that this process we're kind of in the middle of it. It's moving forward, but certainly going to be some fits and starts and potential challenges going forward. All right, Jake, let's get to the number 2 story of the morning. Entering the 2026 cycle with 47 Senate seats and an unfavorable map, few thought Democrats had any shot of flipping control of the chamber, but Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer has notched the final pieces of a complex recruitment plan, successfully persuading top-tier candidates to run for GOP-held seats in Alaska, Maine, Ohio, and North Carolina. We write this morning. This is a big challenge, right? Recruitment is something where we have seen Republicans struggle this cycle in state after state, Georgia and others, where, you candidate quality matters. That's the famous term, that Mitch McConnell used to say. And Schumer has done in a really tough political environment in terms of, people don't want to run for Congress and be in the minority. He has been able to really persuade some folks to at least make some of these races contestable.
Yeah. I mean, listen, Roy Cooper in North Carolina is the best candidate they can get. No question about that. Sherrod Brown in Ohio faces a real tough race there. But if you just assume that Republicans are going to try to run on the OBB, whatever, one big beautiful bill, whatever they call it these days.
The beat, and then an extra
I
beat
just
at
have
the
trouble
end.
with that, like the reconciliation bill, which is now law. But Sherrod Brown is going to have a real tough time. And if you just assume that Republicans are not going to be able to credibly say they lowered costs, and then maybe he has a chance in a state that is just increasingly red, in a state that he lost just a couple years ago. Janet Mills in Maine is running against Susan Collins, Susan Collins has been just truly a fixture there for decades now. And Mary Peltola, former congresswoman, is going to run in Alaska against Dan Sullivan. They would have to not clean up, but pretty close to clean up. And I think what Schumer's trying to say here is they actually, and this is a donor message more than anything, right? And a member management message. We have Democrats, this is Schumer talking, me doing a Schumer. We have a credible pathway to win the majorities. The game is here. It's not only in the House, where House Democrats are going to put up a real fight to take back the majority and are probably favored. A Democratic leader said to me yesterday, I'd rather be us than them, So, that's a good position to be in, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think when you look at Senate Democrats have to net 4 seats. It's going to be tough. It's going to be we'll have to see how they do. But for Schumer, to your point, I mean, this is all about setting expectations. And I think especially when it comes to raising money, making sure that they feel like, hey, listen, we need you guys to give us as much money as possible. Interestingly enough, in the item, he does not talk about who's going to be the candidate in Michigan. That, of course, has been a messy primary for Democrats.
Indeed.
and we will have to see how that nets out. All right, let's go to the number 3 story of the morning. A really great policy item by our very own Brendan Peterson from The Vault, our financial service tax and trade coverage, looking at how, one day away from the Senate Banking Committee's high stakes markup to rearrange the traditional financial system for the sake of crypto, for one crucial fight inside the sprawling market structure bill. However, he writes, the banking sector seems to have secured the upper hand over crypto. Stablecoin yield restrictions. It's not finished. We're still in the process, but this is a big moment where you have banks versus crypto and banks coming out on top.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing, right? Because this is a fight between big financial institutions, which are pushing back against crypto, led by Coinbase, which has sought broad latitude to offer rewards for customers who hold or use crypto, part of an effort to improve digital asset adoption among the public. Negotiators supported the crypto position, but bankers have repeatedly warned lawmakers that such arrangements from their less regulated counterparts could cause a deposit flight out of the traditional financial system, particularly among community banks, with downstream economic impacts in towns and smaller cities nationwide. This is only the beginning of the fights between crypto and banks. And by the way, there's been more agreement than people thought, but this is just it's a huge fight.
And it's going to, yeah, as you say, I mean, this is just one tip of the spear for so many others as we think about how these industries are going to be kind of going, and fighting back and forth and going at it in Washington. And also, especially crypto is such a massive player when it comes to election politics now.
My goodness.
Which is in the back.
Banks are trying to be. Banks
Right.
are trying to be more, so it's very interesting.
All right, we will leave it there. Thank you so much for listening. We appreciate it. If you like the Daily Punch, share it on social media, tell your friends. It's the best way for folks to find out about us. And of course, you can go deeper on all these issues and more by going to punchbowl.news. Have a great day and stay safe, everybody.